On January 2nd, 2017, Sister Frances Carr died at the age of 89. Who is this lady? Well, she was a part of the smallest Christian denomination on the planet. Her death resulted in the church decreasing in number by around 33%. So that means the denomination has only 2 people left. This denomination is called the Shakers. Why are they called the Shakers? Why are there only 2 left? Well, let's go over the history of the Shakers. So, a lot of you probably know that there are a few time periods in history starting in the 1700s and going through the 1800s called Great Awakenings. Well, the Quakers in the mid-1700s were starting to grow more exclusive and strict. Shakers were Quakers who, no joke, got too excited during worship. Yes, that's right. Shakers comes from the fact that many would dance. 2 people named James and Jane Wardley at first formed a subsect of Quakers called the Shaker Quakers. Man, these names keep getting better and better. However, like many Great Awakening groups, Jane Wardley claimed she got a vision from Jesus and used it to reform the Shakers into their own denomination. Essentially, the Shakers were now one of the many arising groups of Christianity preaching the end was near, and they needed to get their act together. Also, like many arising religious groups at the time, they believed in forming separate communities. Also, like many arising religious groups at the time, America was very appealing. Eventually, a member called Mother Ann became leader of the church, so they all went to America and founded their first community in the state of New York called Mount Lebanon. Here were their distinctive beliefs. Aside from their own communities and of course localized crafts, they also believed in the following. Dualism. God is both male and female, and as a result, they believed in gender equality in everything, although they did practice gender segregation, especially in the workplace. Worship services were also done with dances, marches, and song rather than the typical preaching style. They were also huge pacifists, and then at the age of 21, they're given a choice to either stay or leave. However, the main bit is that they believe intercourse is a lustful sin, and as a result, celibacy is encouraged for life. Now, some of you are thinking, well, that's until marriage, right? Nope, there is no marriage. No one was allowed to do anything like that. Well, how did they grow as a community? Well, they took in converts and adopted children, so a lot of orphans and homeless children joined the church. Oh, and another important detail, Mother Ann was supposed to be the second coming of Jesus. She was considered Jesus' second birth, and the spreading of her religion was the second coming. Yeah, that wasn't too popular, and as a result there were a lot of mobs that gave him a hard time for that. But of course some people grew sympathetic to them, and as a result the religion spread anyway. Mother Ann died in 1784 at the age of 48. They had successor leaders, but after 1821 they changed to becoming a council of elders instead. These guys also loved crafts, and as a result were always top-notch in terms of agricultural technology. For example, it was a Shaker who first used circular saws for sawmills over traditional methods. A Shaker also invented Babbitt metal. These guys were always impressive with their work ethic. During the Civil War, the Shakers were amongst the first conscientious objectors, believing in pacifism. Therefore, a lot of their communities became nursing areas for soldiers on both sides. However, over time their numbers began to shrink. Handmade products were cool, but obviously industrialization hurt their success and didn't bring in any converts since it wasn't always a guaranteed successful job. Also, the idea of religions adopting kids, yeah, a lot of laws in the 1950s were made to heavily restrict that sort of thing. So essentially, their population was in free fall after that point. After a max population of around 6,000 in the 1850s, they began slowly dropping. In fact, in 1957, things got so dismal that the leaders agreed to close off from future converts. To be a convert, you had to sign a document, and you'd be a member. Now that that document is literally locked in a safe, you can't join anymore. So that was essentially the last nail in the coffin. Now there are 2 left. Brother Arnold Had, age 58, and Sister June Carpenter, age 77. Their last community in which they both live is the Sabbath Day Lake Shaker Village in the state of Maine. With them not allowing new converts, their church is essentially at the critically endangered status. That is the history of the world's smallest church. You can't join them, but you can visit if you want.